So let's go ahead and get started. Just a little bit of housekeeping. This is a webinar, so it uses bandwidth. You might want to close some of your other applications if you notice any kind of delays or stuttering. Try not to be streaming the new episode of Game of Thrones or anything like that in the background. If you have trouble hearing, use some earbuds or headphones, and so on and so forth. Like I said, today's webinar is being recorded, so keep an eye out for that email with the link. And feel free to ask any questions of Lauren and Catherine. They are here to help, and they are experts at tethering and smart shooter and all things tether tools, so feel free to ask any kinds of questions of them. So the agenda, I know a lot of you guys are customers of Tether tools and are familiar with tethering. So real briefly, for those who are not as familiar, I wanted to go quickly through what is tethering and why tethering. I'll try and run through that relatively quick, but want to be mindful of the people who are kind of new to the process. And then we'll get started on the actual features of Tether tool, of Smart Shooter, what it can do for you, some of its cool features, how you might integrate it into your workflow process, and so on. So what is tethering? Tethering, very simply, is connecting a camera to a computer, tablet, or monitor so that you can move the image from the back of your camera LCD screen to a bigger screen so that you can check to make sure everything looks good. A lot of people ask me, can I tether with Photoshop or Bridge? The answer to that is no, because it doesn't actually instantly move the image from your camera to your screen as you're shooting. So what the technology we're talking about today is moving that image seamlessly and quickly. So why do we want to tether? Well, obviously, seeing it on a bigger screen is much more helpful than seeing it on that small LCD screen on the back of your camera. That LCD screen will lie to you all the time. You'll get through an entire shot. You think you have the best shots in the world. You get back to the studio. Your favorite shot's just a little bit blurry, or there's something in the background that's throwing the image off. Just little things that, had you seen it on set, you could have easily corrected for. So that's basically evaluate the scene, check that focus, check the composition, the exposure, the color, the lighting, all that kind of stuff. Tethering is also a great way to collaborate on set, whether you're working with the model, the subject, makeup artists, creative directors. It invites them into the process. It makes them have trust with you in the process. It gives them confidence that they're going to get the shot that they're looking for. They might have great input. And sometimes, in the photography world, as photographers, we might say, hey, tuck your chin and look a little bit to the left. And to the model, that sounds awkward or weird. But when they see it on screen, they really get a good vision as to why they need to follow your direction on that. So what do you need to get started tethering? Obviously, besides for a camera, you need a cable. And as you guys know, hopefully you know, Tether Tools makes the best tether cables in the industry. We make them robust, we make them long, we make them last. That way, as you're shooting, you're moving around, the cable's not going to fail on you. We have USB-C cables now for new cameras with USB-C ports, or with new computers with USB-C ports. So check out our site for all of our cables and all your cable needs. If you're not sure which cable you need, because there is quite a few different cables out there, we have a search by camera feature at the top of our website. You put in your camera make and model, whether you need USB or USB-C, and it will tell you exactly which cable. Not all cables work with all cameras, so you need to make sure you get the right cable for your camera. While you're there, this page also contains different items on power management, some essentials for tethering, so just kind of look through that and make sure you got everything you need. The second thing we recommend for tethering is cable management. We have two different types of cable management. The jerk stoppers, I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Keep that cable not only from getting disconnected from your camera, but keeps that USB port on your camera from getting damaged. That port is pretty fragile. It's expensive to replace. You have to send your camera in while it's getting replaced, so you don't have your tools to do your job. So cable management is important. The jerk stopper is a nice, lightweight way to do that with a quick disconnect. And we sell options for the other side where the computer is, to make sure that stays connected as well. The other cable management solution we have, we call the Tether block. This one's a little bit more robust. The cable routes through a tripod plate that is on the bottom of your camera. It creates a rock solid connection. I can literally hang my camera from my cable. Not that I recommend that you do that, but the plate will allow that. We sell it in two versions, one with ARCA. So if you have an ARCA compatible ball head, it'll just mount right on your tripod. The other one, you mount your tripod plate directly to. And that's if you're shooting off a tripod. If you're just walking around, moving around the set shooting, then either style is going to work great for you. You need a computer, obviously. What we're talking about today, Smart Shooter 4, is available for the Mac OS and for Windows. So a Mac or Windows, could be desktop or laptop. Most of our customers, honestly, are using laptops, easier to move around, easy to adjust in the studio or on location, but a desktop will work. And then you need software, and so that's why today we are talking about Smart Shooter to handle that piece. So getting started. I know I went through that quick, as I said. We have a ton of information on tethering, how to tether, why to tether, all on tethertools.com, as well as tethertalk.com, which is our blog. I'll have links to all of this information at the end of the slide. So if you need more information on that, either reach out to us, go to our site, give us a call, however you want to reach out to us. So let's talk about Smart Shooter. That's why we're here. Smart Shooter is what we call a capture utility. Its focus, its main purpose is to quickly and efficiently move the images from your camera to your computer, as we discussed earlier. It can supplement editing and cataloging software, being like Lightroom or Capture One. It itself does not have those features, and we believe it makes it that much quicker and performance-based because we haven't messed around with those features. We've kept it strictly for tethering. You can do camera control, as you see in the screenshot to the right there, change camera settings, save the image to your hard drive wherever you need to, set up live view, all that kind of stuff. But the speed and efficiency of moving your image from your camera to your computer is unparalleled. It also has some advanced features like complex image naming, multiple loops, which I'll talk about, overlays. So if you do a lot of compositing, it's nice to show the old image and the new image as you take it to see that you're lining things up for your composite. Barcode scanning, and more. So there's a lot of advanced features all around tethering, which you're not going to get from a lot of the other software out there. Probably one of the biggest advantages we see in Smart Shooter is the multi-storage mode. If you shoot with a Nikon and you tether, the Nikon automatically bypasses the camera card and just stores it on your computer. A lot of photographers, that makes them a little nervous that it's not saving to the camera card. So with Smart Shooter, you can choose to save it to the camera card, to the computer, or to both. And that's true with Canon, Nikon, and we have with Smart Shooter 4 introduced very limited Sony support with plans of increased Sony support moving forward. So if you're a Sony user, you can download Smart Shooter and play with some of the features, but it's only going to get better over time as we're able to round out not only which Sony cameras we support, but the features in those Sony cameras that we support. There are two versions of Smart Shooter. One is standard and one is Pro. Pro has a few more advanced features, which I'll talk about. The standard version retails for $69.95, the Pro version for $195.95. And so we offer a free 30-day full trial. When you download Smart Shooter from us, you get all the features, standard and Pro, for free for a full 30-day trial. And then after that, we think you'll love it and you'll purchase one of the two versions. And then at that point, you'll just get a license code you stick in there and it will unlock for you. You don't have to re-download it or anything like that. So just to be clear, because Tether Tools, up to this point, we've sold software, but we've never been involved in the software development process. So I wanted to be clear about Tether Tools' relationship with Smart Shooter and Code, which is the developer. we've actually teamed up with Code and their lead developer, Francis, over there, to work on features together, provide a lot of the knowledge that we have of 10 years of business in the tethered photography space, a lot of the features that you guys ask us or call us about, a lot of the things that us as photographers want to see. We're working with Francis to get those features implemented, work on the roadmap. It's a very collaborative project at this point. Francis is an awesome developer, and we love working with him. And it's been a great ride to get to Smart Shooter 4. Smart Shooter is going to be distributed 100% solely by Tether tools moving forward. And as such, we're going to provide 100% of the customer service through Tether tools. So hopefully many of you know that the quality of customer service we provide is top notch. We pride ourselves on our customer service. We're going to be extending that to Smart Shooter as well, so that if you have questions on it not working, or questions on how to use a feature, or just questions that you can't figure out on your own, you can call us, you can email us, you can visit our website, however you want to get in touch with us, and we will have people here. Catherine's one of them. We have a few other people here that will answer your question and get back to you and help you get through that challenge, whatever it might be. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the features of Smart Shooter now, what differentiates it. The first one I wanted to talk about was the panels, and I'll show this a little bit more in context in the next slide. But over here on the right side of the screen, you can see 3 of the panels. These panels allow you to do different kinds of functionality. Preview, obviously you can see the image you just shot. Loupe, you can zoom into the image you just shot. Live view, you can use live view on your camera. EXIF or info, you can see the metadata about your shot. The film strip lets you switch between different images. These panels are customizable. You can resize them, make them bigger, smaller. You can change which panel is doing what feature. So here is a screenshot of actual photos in the Smart Shooter 4 interface. You can see the panels over here big. I have the preview window. Over on the left down here, I have a loupe view. So this yellow box, which is a little challenging to see, is showing what's zoomed in. I can change the loupe zoom in, zoom out, where it's placed on the image. I'll show you that here shortly. Up here at the top, I've got the info, all the metadata about my shot, what the ISO was, the aperture, shutter speed, even a histogram. And then down here at the bottom, I have the film strip, which the film strip lets you quickly and easily switch between shots that you've already taken, preview your shots, put them up in the preview window, collaborate with others on set. The film strip's really your navigation to your catalog of images that you just shot. So multiple loupes. I want to spend a little bit of time on this because I think this is a huge feature for tethered photography. Smart Shooter is the only product out there that has this. And I want to make sure I explain it well so that you guys could really see the benefit the way I do. Basically, you can set multiple focus points, and focus points is probably not the right term. You can set multiple areas on the shot that you want to have a zoomed in view of, and make sure as you're shooting that zoomed in view is meeting your criteria, which most likely is that it's sharp. So here you can see, again, this yellow box over her face. And as a photographer, I can focus in on her eyes. And, you know, she's doing sit-ups over there. Every time she comes up, it might be a challenge to get her eyes right in focus at the top of that sit-up. So having that zoomed in view lets me quickly and easily identify whether I got that. The one thing that multiple loupes can do is give you multiple places in the image to check to see that they're all in focus. So imagine, if you will, you're doing a group shot and you've got, you know, multiple faces, and the way they're set up is, you know, maybe a little concave. You've got some people a little bit further back and a little bit closer to the camera. You could set one loupe view on one of the subjects in the back and one loupe view at one of the subjects on the front, and make sure that your depth of field is covering that full range of focus to make sure that you don't get this great group shot where the back row is completely out of focus. So I'm going to show you a little bit how to do that through the next slide, which is a video. This might be a little challenging depending on lag. I don't know what you see when my voice is talking. but hopefully it syncs up well. I'll let this sit just for a sec before I start the video to hopefully catch up. This is the actual Smart Shooter user interface. Over on the right side of the screen, we have the preview image. That means the image we just shot with the camera. And then over here on the left side is we have one loop set up. So as I play this video, you can see my mouse over there on the right. I'm going to actually move that zoom point. Actually, first I'm switching the view. So you can at any point use that arrow on the left to switch what is in which loop. Now I'm moving the loop view, and you can see how it reflects in the larger preview image what you're seeing. So now I just switch it back. So I can control not only where it is on the photo, but the zoom level of the photo. So I can zoom in, zoom out that loop. And you can notice on the other image, it makes that loop bigger and smaller. Now I'm going to set this second panel right below it to loop view. You'll notice it creates another box that I can move. And now I can shoot and check and make sure that the top of the plant is in focus and that the base of the plant is in focus. And I could even set up a third loop view in the info box above and have 3 different loop views. And those loop views are going to sit there and stay static as I shoot. So I've got my loops set up where I want them right now. And I take another picture, press the shutter button. The new image is going to come in. It's going to replace the image in the preview window. It's going to show on the film strip and replace the image in the preview window. And then that new image is going to update those 2 loops to see what's in focus and what's not in focus. So from that perspective, I hope you guys all agree, this is an amazing tool to make sure that you've got focus nailed on all the parts of the image that you need to have focus nailed on. And if I'm viewing this on my laptop, or maybe I have a cable going out to an external monitor, I can be away from my computer shooting, looking up at my screen, and because I have a zoomed in view, I don't have to be right at the computer to check focus. I could see that from a couple feet away and know, okay, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, to give me all the confidence in the world that when I get back to the studio and I start to do post-process production on these images, that I have the shot and I don't need to worry about missing the shot. The other main advantage, and this is the advantage of tethering and this setup, is you know when to stop shooting. You don't want to keep shooting a bunch of photos when you've got the shot already. You want to conserve your time. Time is money. You want to know when to stop shooting. You want to know when you got the shot. And this multiple loop view feature, I think, really helps do that. All right, so now I'm going to move on from basic tethering features to some of the more advanced features. This presentation is meant to be a very high-level overview of Smart Shooter. As such, we can't get into all the different features and details and different uses of buttons. We have great documentation online. We've got a bunch of videos up on YouTube. We're adding more videos up on YouTube. But I would recommend, if this is at all interesting to you, go to our website, download the free 30-day trial, and give it a shot. And then if you have questions about specific features, then we have all that information out there. So from that perspective now, I'm just going to kind of give some top level of some of the other things Smart Shooter can do without specifically getting into exactly how to do it. So one of the big advantages of Smart Shooter as compared to other tethering software out there on the market is that it can support multiple cameras. A lot of people ask, well, how do you hook up multiple cameras? Well, you do need multiple either USB ports or a USB hub, and each one would be wired into your computer. Then you can switch between cameras just using a drop-down. So every camera that's connected to your computer will be recognized by Smart Shooter, and then you can just choose from the drop-down which camera you want to control. You can set the camera controls per that camera, and then you can execute your photography either using the camera by pressing the shutter button or by pressing the shoot button within Smart Shooter. So if you're shooting a complex scene, you've got multiple angles, maybe you're doing some kind of 3DR or 3D imaging or some mapping or something like that, then you can set up multiple cameras and switch between. You could also theoretically use this if you have different lenses that you're shooting with. You have one body with a a short lens and one body with a longer body, and you're switching back and forth, this would work with that as well. Now, as a pro feature, you can actually fire multiple cameras simultaneously where if you want to say, I want to shoot all 5 of these cameras at once with one click of the button in Smart Shooter, then that pro feature will allow you to do that. So I'm sure as photographers, we've all messed around with like the drops of water dropping into the bowl of water and how it creates the cool drop that comes up and you try and get it. This could allow you to do that from multiple angles, maybe stitch that together in kind of a GIF or something like that. So fun to play with. The most professional use of this is we find a lot of software game makers use it to 3D model stuff. So if you're into that feature, this is a great way to do that. You can even assign multiple cameras into groups. So you have group A, which maybe has a couple cameras, group B that has a couple of cameras, and fire off those groups differently. So there's a lot of flexibility. It is a pretty specific use case, and so that's why we've kind of designated it into the pro license. The next feature I want to talk about is scripting. So the standard edition of Smart Shooter comes with 10 scripts right out of the box. And so some of the examples of those are bracketing, time-lapse, HDR. You basically just go up to the top window, hit scripts, choose the one you want. It'll ask you a few questions on settings and hit go, which is great. You don't need to know any programming to do that. You can use those 10 scripts. They come with the regular version. You don't need to know any advanced technology. Now, if you're the type like me that is into programming and writing commands, then the pro feature allows you to actually write your own scripts or edit the existing scripts and re-upload them. So it's super easy text-based commands. We have documentation on how they work, but it's basically like shoot, camera, and then that would be one command, or wait 10 seconds, change a certain setting, shoot again. So it does require a little bit of programming knowledge. The idea of running sequential commands through a text file is basically what it's doing. You can do some more advanced stuff with variables and functions and stuff like that. But that's, again, why we put it into the pro version. If you want to mess around with it, it's there. If you don't, you still can take advantage of some of the very basic 10 scripts that we've created out of the box and provide to you with the standard version. But it can do quite a bit, as you can see from our examples. Bracketing, it's basically shooting the picture, adjusting the camera settings, shooting the picture, adjusting the camera settings, shooting the picture. So it's just that easy. Once you learn the commands, you just type them out, test it, and off you go. A lot of different use cases for this. We hope to publish some of those out onto our blog and YouTube to show you different ways you could use this, different ideas. But it's a really neat feature that none of the other tethering software out there that I'm aware of has. The next pro feature I'm going to talk about is barcode scanning. So barcode scanning allows you to manipulate the file name that's stored with the image as you shoot. So if you think about it from the perspective of we call high volume or step and repeat, but the photographers that go into a school and have to shoot hundreds of kids, and they have a few seconds to a minute with each kid, and then they get back to their studio or their editing bay, wherever they're going, and they have to try and map up which student is with which shot. So barcode scanning is a great way to do that. Basically, Smart Shooter will recognize an image that has a barcode in it. And it could be a 2D barcode like the one you see in the upper right corner here. It could be a UPC. It could be any kind of the 8 different standard barcode formats. That barcode has data in it. So typically with like a UPC like you find on your packaged products, that barcode represents just a series of numbers. But these 2D barcodes, as you see here, can represent email addresses, websites, names, grades. You can put any amount of data into that barcode. Then you print it out, you have the kid hold it when they get their photo taken, and Smart Shooter will name the file based off of the data in that barcode. That's all well and great, but how do you know how to get that data into the barcode? There are a ton of websites out there where you can create your own barcodes. You just pass it a CSV website with names, whatever data you want to have in that barcode. It'll generate out that barcode, and then you can print that off. We have it on our roadmap to kind of create a tool to help you do that, but there are tools out there already. So then you give that to the, like I said, give that to the child or the athlete if you're shooting sports. They hold it up. Smart Shooter sees that, grabs that data, and then when it saves the image name to disk, it could be Josh underscore Kenzer underscore 1, Josh underscore Kenzer underscore 2, so on and so forth. Once that next kid comes up with their barcode, they hold it in that first image. Smart Shooter recognizes it, and now it's Catherine Sly underscore 1, Catherine Sly underscore 2, and it just keeps changing that image name for you. You get back to your editing bay, it's very, very clear which shot goes with which kid. Very simple, very easy to use. The biggest challenge is creating the barcodes, which does take a little bit of work up front. And then after that, it saves you a ton of time on the back end. So that's barcode scanning. Again, that is also a pro feature. So I know us as photographers, we have our tools we love to use. We might already use Lightroom. We might use Photoshop. If we shoot high volume, we might use Darkroom, Flow. There's all kinds of different labs out there that we might send photos to. So how would that work? And you may have heard Tether tools mention this a lot because it's a very common use case. But when Smart Shooter takes an image, it saves it to a folder on your computer, which in this graphic we call a watch folder. A watch folder basically is just any folder on your computer that your tethering software is saving the image into. So Smart Shooter's you're taking the image, Smart Shooter's saving it into that folder, take another image, it saves it into that folder. All these other softwares out there have a concept of a watch folder. Sometimes it's called a hot folder, where when they're open, you can point them to the same folder. And when they see a new image go into that folder, it'll automatically open in that program. So with Lightroom, the new watch folder, point it there. As I'm shooting a Smart Shooter, I love the speed, the consistency, the quality of the image coming over. It doesn't drop connections. So instead of using Lightroom, I use Smart Shooter, but I'm still going to do my cataloging and editing in Lightroom. So I have both programs open, shooting with Smart Shooter, and they're just opening up on my computer as if I was shooting them right into Lightroom. The delay between the time that Smart Shooter drops the folder and that Lightroom opens it is very minimal, especially if you're on a new as into your current process flow. Just another note on other things you might be interested in. We got cables and tether blocks and jerk stoppers and Smart Shooter. We do have a whole series of power management solutions. Here you see our case relay and rock solid battery pack. You see our on-site DTAP and AC power supply. The case relay and battery pack allows you to power your camera with a rechargeable battery. You can shoot 4 to 5 times longer than your camera battery would allow you to. Great if you're on location, if you're shooting video or something like that. The on-site DTAP AC power supply allows you to power your laptop or recharge batteries on-set using DTAP batteries. Again, great if you're on location and you need power to the laptop, you need working, you can just power right through your AC port. And those DTAP batteries are rechargeable. You can pick them up at rental houses. You can fly at least definitely prides ourselves on our customer support, our tethering education. We have free guides, free downloads, pro team listed. Okay, it sounds like maybe you guys lost me for a little bit. I'm not going to go back and do the sales pitch again on the power management solutions, but definitely check those out if you're interested. The tethering education, there's free downloads on the website. We do ask for email address. You guys are probably already signed up for our newsletter, but feel free to download any of our guides. We have a couple different ones. How I Got the Shot features different photographers, a cool setup they did and how they got it. We also have a tethered workflow guide. We have videos behind the scenes, shot by style. Maybe the audio's.
Yeah, give it a second.
Okay. Sorry about that. We'll give it a few seconds, see if the audio works out. Luckily, it's definitely the end of the presentation, not the beginning of the presentation. Here are some of the links I mentioned today. Hopefully, if you can hear this, otherwise you can definitely see it. Download the free trial, tethertools.com/smartshooter. Free 30-day trial, all the features. We've got a lot of great educational content on Smart Shooter going up on YouTube. We've added 4 videos with more to come. We're posting lots of great content on tethering and Smart Shooter on tethertalk.com, which is our blog. And if you're interested in those guides that you may not have been able to hear me talk about, tethertools.com/guides. If you have any other questions, you can email us at customerservice@tethertools. I'm going to stop my screen sharing and see if there's any questions I can answer. Looks like Lauren and Catherine been doing a good job answering questions. Yeah, I see Thomas was asking about Capture One Pro versus Smart Shooter. Capture One Pro is a great software. They support Canon, Nikon, and Sony cameras. It's got editing and cataloging capabilities. It really is a nice piece of software. I think if anything, Smart Shooter is just a lighter weight product. It's not going to use as much computer resources as you're shooting, as you're working. And so, you know, if you got a little bit older computer, you just don't want to run a heavy software while you're in your tethered shooting, I would recommend giving Smart Shooter a try. Another question I see is how many software licenses per computer? When you purchase a Smart Shooter, you can use it on up to 3 computers. It supports Windows or Mac. You don't buy a license for one or the other. So of the 3 computers, you'd have 2 Windows, 1 Mac, 3 Macs, 3 Windows, whatever you want to use it for. And if you switch computers later, we do make it super easy to deactivate the licenses and reactivate them on a different computer. So, and like I said, we're very focused on customer service. So if you have specific use cases where you need different licensing for different things, give us a call. Let's talk about it and see what we can do on that. See if I see any other questions that. We don't have support for Fuji cameras yet. It may be on the roadmap down the road. I don't have anything definitive on that. I know one of my camera bodies is a Fuji, and I'd love to see that, but it just takes time to integrate cameras in. And right now, our focus is Sony in terms of new. Sorry about the audio. Hopefully, you guys could still make out most of it. Photo booth would be a great use case. You know, maybe we do a little Tether Talk post on how to maybe use this for a photo booth. So, all right. If there isn't any more questions, thank you guys for attending. Like I said, tethertools.com/smartshooter. Download the 30-day trial. Give it a try. And definitely, because we are involved in the development of it and the roadmap, and it's basically a Tether Tools product now. If you have feedback, suggestions, ideas, ways that you'd like to see it work differently, better, I can't promise we'll implement everyone's features. I'm sure, you know, going down that path would be a hard target to hit. But if you do have suggestions, we'd love to hear them. and maybe it'll make it into the next version of Smart Shooter. We are also constantly, tweaking things and changing things. So make sure to always check and make sure you have the latest version. It should prompt you, or you can go up to the top under the help menu and check for updates. We just posted a video on that on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Thank you guys for attending. With that, I will end the webinar.